Jennifer's life in London had been uneventful until she decided to dip her toes into the world of online dating. Swiping through profiles on Tinder, she came across Damien, a man whose European charm and allure seemed to leap off the screen. Intrigued, she swiped right, and to her surprise, they matched. Their first meeting was like something out of a fairy tale. Damien arrived in a sleek Rolls Royce, his attire impeccable and his demeanor captivating. Jennifer found herself entranced by his old world charm, unable to resist his magnetic presence. As they dined at an exclusive restaurant reserved for the elite, Jennifer felt like she was living in a dream. Damien's charisma was intoxicating, and she found herself falling deeper under his spell with each passing moment. When he suggested they continue the evening at his place, Jennifer eagerly agreed. As they drove to his remote estate, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a storybook world. The estate, with its looming castle and sprawling grounds, was unlike anything Jennifer had ever seen. Inside, she marveled at the antiquities and oddities that adorned the halls, feeling a shiver of unease creep down her spine. Excusing herself to the bathroom, Jennifer stumbled upon a hidden chamber filled with macabre relics and eerie paintings. One portrait in particular caught her eye, a depiction of a man she recognized from history books as Vlad the Impaler. Before she could process the implications, Damien appeared behind her, his eyes betraying a hint of sadness. "You stumbled upon my family's dark secret," he said, his voice tinged with regret. Jennifer turned to face him, her heart pounding in her chest. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Vlad was not just a man," Damien explained, his words heavy with sorrow. "He was a creature of the night, a vampire who thirsted for blood." Jennifer's mind reeled at the revelation, her thoughts spinning with disbelief. "But how is that possible?" she stammered, struggling to comprehend the truth. "Vlad's thirst for blood knew no bounds," Damien continued, his voice haunted by memories of centuries past. "He roamed the countryside, feasting on innocent villagers under the cover of darkness." Jennifer's eyes widened in horror as she listened to Damien's tale, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "And the legend of Dracula?" she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Damien nodded solemnly. "Bram Stoker immortalized my father in his novel, painting him as a figure of pure evil. But in truth, Vlad was much more complex than that. He was a king, yes, but also a monster." As Jennifer processed his words, she felt a surge of fear and uncertainty wash over her. Could she trust this man, whose very nature seemed to be shrouded in darkness? But as she caught sight of her reflection in a nearby mirror, the truth dawned on her with chilling clarity. Damien had no reflection. In a heartbeat, Jennifer realized the danger she was in. With a mix of fear and resignation, she watched as Damien's true nature revealed itself, his fangs descending as he prepared to claim her as his next victim. "I'm sorry, my darling," he whispered, his voice tinged with remorse. But as his fangs sank into her neck, Jennifer's world faded into darkness, her fate sealed by the embrace of the undead. In the shadowy depths of Damien's castle, another chapter of the dark legacy of Dracula began. And as the night closed in around them, Jennifer's screams echoed through the halls, lost to the ages. In the heart of the concrete jungle, amid the towering skyscrapers of New York City, Ezekiel Snake Conservatory stood as a hidden oasis. Ezekiel, a reclusive snake farmer, tended to his serpentine charges with a devotion bordering on obsession. His pride and joy was Leviathan, a massive 30-foot anaconda whose coils could crush bone with ease. One fateful night, the tranquility of Ezekiel's conservatory shattered as Leviathan broke free from its glass prison. Panic gripped Ezekiel's heart as he raced to alert the authorities. Dread coiling in the pit of his stomach at the thought of what his prized serpent might unleash upon the unsuspecting city. As police officers secured the streets in search of Leviathan, Ezekiel's mind swirled with a maelstrom of fear and guilt. He had underestimated the power of his beloved Anaconda, and now the city would pay the price to his folly. The first victims of Leviathan's rampage were a young couple strolling through Central Park. The moon cast an eerie glow upon the tranquil scene as Leviathan struck with lightning speed, his massive coils ensnaring the unsuspecting pair in a deadly embrace. Their screams pierced through the night as Leviathan squeezed the life from their bodies, his jaws dripping with crimson blood as he devoured his prey. As dawn broke over the city, the grisly scene in Central Park sent shockwaves of terror through the hearts of New Yorkers. The once picturesque park had become a graveyard, a testament to the insatiable hunger of the monstrous serpent that now prowled the streets. But Leviathan's appetite for destruction knew no bounds. And soon he struck again, this time targeting a family enjoying a quiet dinner in their apartment. The sound of shattering glass shattered the silence as Leviathan slithered through the open window, his cold reptilian eyes fixed on his unsuspecting prey. "Mommy, what's that?" a young boy trembled as the family turned to face the looming shadow in their midst. Before they could react, Leviathan struck, his massive jaws closing around the father's throat with bone-crushing force. The horrified family watched in helpless terror as Leviathan dragged his victim from the room, leaving a trail of blood in his wake. As the city descended into chaos, the authorities struggled to contain the growing panic. Pets vanished without a trace, their owners left to mourn their loss in the face of an unseen menace. Deep beneath the bustling streets of Manhattan, Leviathan slithered through the darkened sewers, his predatory instincts honed by centuries of evolution. For in the heart of the city that never sleeps, a new terror had awakened, one that lurked in the shadows, awaiting to strike with deadly precision. And as the residents of New York cowered in fear, Ezekiel could only watch helplessly as his beloved Anaconda unleashed its wrath upon the world. Victor Frankenstein stood alone in his laboratory, surrounded by the remnants of his failed experiment. The flickering light from the oil lamps cast eerie shadows on the cold stone walls, emphasizing the desolation of the room. The creature he had created, his first creation, had brought nothing but pain and destruction upon the world. He felt a heavy weight of guilt and remorse settle upon his shoulders as he gazed upon the empty slab where the monster had once lay. Determined to right his wrongs, Victor resolved to try again. But this time he decided to create something different, A little girl. Perhaps he thought a creature born of innocence would be less prone to the darkness that had consumed his first creation. Gathering the necessary materials, Victor set to work once more. The steady tick-tock of the clock echoed through the silent laboratory as he meticulously assembled body parts, carefully selecting each one with the hope of creating a more balanced and pure being. And when the process was complete, he beheld his creation with awe and wonder. The little girl he named Shelley was beautiful, with bright eyes and fair skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. Victor felt a swell of pride and joy as he looked upon her, believing that this time he had succeeded in his quest to create life. He took Shelley into his home, declaring her his daughter and vowing to keep her safe from harm. But as time passed, Victor began to notice disturbing signs. While Shelley possessed no outwardly grotesque features like his first creation, there was a darkness lurking within her. He stumbled upon her killing a bird, then a cat, each time brushing it off as an accident. But when he discovered drawings of disemboweled humans hidden away in her room, he could no longer ignore the truth. Confronting Shelley, Victor was met with sweet words and feigned innocence. She assured him of her love and loyalty. "It was a mistake, father," Shelley pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I promise. I love you." Victor's heart ached as he looked upon her, torn between love for his creation and fear of what she had become. "I want to believe you, Shelley," he said softly, "but I cannot ignore the evidence before me." It was on a stormy night that the truth was revealed in its entirety. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows as Victor rushed to check on Shelley. The air was thick with tension as he found her amidst a scene of horror. A dead woman lay on the floor, her entrails torn apart, while Shelley feasted upon her remains. "Father, would you like to join in for a meal?" Shelley's voice echoed in the darkness, sending a chill down Victor's spine. She was drenched in blood, and the innocence of her voice and words, set against the chilling scene of the disemboweled woman, painted a picture of unimaginable horror. Realization dawned upon him in that moment. He had failed once again. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Victor took her by his arms and led her to his basement. All the while, Shelley pleaded to be let go, but somehow he found the strength to carry her downstairs. Victor took up an axe and, in a swift but tragic blow, ended Shelley's life, her pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. Heartbroken and torn, Victor buried Shelley in the cold earth, vowing to focus all his energy on finding and destroying the monster he had unleashed upon the world before he decided to create her. But deep down, he knew that the darkness he had created would haunt him forever, a tragic reminder of his folly and hubris. As Sam descended into the murky depths of the ocean, the anticipation in his chest soared. The cage around him offered both protection and vulnerability, a flimsy barrier between him and the apex predators he sought to encounter. But as the storm clouds gathered overhead, casting an ominous pall over the sea, the boat owner's warnings echoed in Sam's mind. "This isn't safe," the caption had cautioned, his voice tinged with concern. "We need to turn back." Sam shook his head defiantly, his determination outweighing any sense of fear. "I've come too far to turn back now," he insisted, the thrill of the impending encounter driving him forward. As the first great white shark appeared, its massive form slicing through the water with predatory grace, Sam's heart raced with excitement. "This is it," he murmured, his voice tinged with awe. But as the storm unleashed its fury upon the ocean, the tranquil scene transformed into a nightmare. The cage rocked violently against the boat, the metal bars groaning under the onslaught of the waves. In the violent onslaught that rocked his cage, Sam realized that he had nicked his shoulder, which had started to bleed. Sam's knuckles turned white as he clung to the bars, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "Hold on tight!" the boat captain shouted above the roar of the storm, his voice barely audible over the deafening cacophony. The sharks circled the cage with primal hunger, their predatory instincts ignited by the scent of blood in the water. Sam's arm throbbed with pain as he watched the predators closed in, their razor-sharp teeth glinting in the murky depths. With each impact, the cage shuddered and groaned, threatening to break apart under the relentless assault. "We need to get out of here," Sam cried out, his voice tinged with panic as the shark's frenzied attacks grew more vicious. But as the cage was rocked violently towards the boat, disaster struck. With a sickening crunch, the metal bars collided with the hull, sending shockwaves reverberating through Sam's body. The sharks, sensing an opportunity, closed in with renewed ferocity. Sam's screams were drowned out by the roar of the storm as the predators tore into the cage with relentless savagery. Blood mingled with salt water as the sharks' teeth tore through flesh and bone, their primal hunger driving them to consume the helpless prey. Sam's cries echoed to the depths, a haunting lament for a life cut short by the merciless power of the ocean's deadliest predators. In the end, there was only darkness, a vast, endless abyss, swallowing Sam whole as a storm raged on above.